All right, welcome to the second set of movements today. What we're going to focus on is getting you guys ready, getting you warmed up. Again, we're going to go through about 3 by a minute jump rope. It's a good way to get everything moving and making sure that we're using the ball of our foot when we're running. The next movement we're going to do is actually going to work on stretch reflex here. What we're going to do is you guys can use a bar or a wall, and I just want you guys to work on 3 variations of calf raises. So we're just going to go 2 feet up and down. We're going to go single leg up and down, and then I want you guys to give me a nice bent knee, just slight bend in the knee, and you guys are going to feel that in your Achilles. Now, the last part of this here is that at the end of this, I want you guys to give these a nice drop and then a nice lean forward, and then you guys can hold that and give a nice slow raise up. So there's a couple variations there for you guys to do to help build some calf strength and some lower leg strength as we get warmed up. All right, so the next movement here is a front squat. For some of you guys, this may not be comfortable. I'm going to show you a variation at the end of this. If you guys can, get a bar into the J-hooks. I've got a really light bar here just for demonstration. I want you to come up underneath it, and what I want you to try to do is get the bar and your fingers and have it rest in the top part of the muscle on your arm here. So as that's up there, what we're going to do is we're going to come back and sit down in a regular squat. We're just going to load the front part of our legs a little bit differently. Now, if that is really uncomfortable for you, you've had a shoulder injury, anything like that, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is go into what we call a safety squat position. And that's where you're going to cross your arms over in front, just like this. And we're going to sit here. Now, if you don't have access to a barbell and J-hooks and things that make that really easy, the last thing you can do is you can go ahead and grab a kettlebell. You can grab it in this goblet position, and it's still going to do what we're looking for. It's going to help load the front part of the legs. And we're going to hinge back, come down, and come back up. All right, we're coming up on one of my favorite movements. If you cannot yet hold a plank for 60 seconds, work your way up to that and then just do 3 rounds of 60-second planks. We're going to move into a movement called Renegade Row. So you're going to want to go a little bit lighter than you're probably used to for just a regular single arm row. We're going to combine a plank position with a row position. So go ahead and grab your weights and put them directly underneath your shoulders. Come into plank and give yourself a nice wide stance until you're comfortable with this movement. And then you're going to pull. Pull. Now, the first thing you're going to see happen, especially if this is your first time doing this movement, is you're going to want to rotate your hips to gain leverage. I want you guys to think about locking in that core, and that instead of trying to twist your hips to get leverage, I really want you guys to use that nice wide base and control the movement the whole time. So do not try to do these fast. Control the movement. This is going to help, again, with rotation as we're running. It's going to help keep everything moving in a straight line instead of changing direction. All right, so we're going to do the Palloff Press now. This is an anti-rotation movement. It's going to help us prevent that desire to want to rotate back and forth with the trunk. And so what we're going to do is we need to kind of find that locked in good position. If you have a mirror, use that. If you have a cable machine, you can also use a cable machine. I'm using a band here today. What I want you guys to do is find a good position here, lock in those elbows against your ribs, and I want you guys to come in and come out. Now, it doesn't look very hard, but I can promise you that to stabilize your core in this position is the very same position you're going to use as you're running. So if you need to make it more difficult, step out. And you're trying to prevent this band from rotating. So I'm feeling this on this side, you're going to rotate, and you're going to feel it on the opposite side. Go. Awesome, so we're going to do a combined movement of forward and reverse lunge. I want you guys to all start your first round of this just going through the movement. And that is, you're here, we're going to go into a forward lunge, and we're going to go into a reverse lunge. Now, if you need to touch your toe as you come through, that's totally fine. If that's good and you're getting full range of motion, you can farmer's carry these You can top rack these, if you can imagine you're here. We're just trying to control that movement. Good eccentric fades for the quads, and good push off movement to get you used to pushing off the volume tone. All right, so we're going to do a push-up side plank. This is a combined kind of a little bit of power, a little bit of core movement. Everything's going to come back to good control. So let's come down to a nice push-up position. You guys are here. What we're going to do, if you can imagine, as I push up, I'm going to rotate and come through and open up. So it looks like this. Now, the easiest way I found this movement to work is if my feet are stacked over each other. If I'm like this, my hips are out of whack. So I'm going to hold this, I'm going to rotate my feet over. Yep. All right, so we're going to keep on with the core side of things. We're going to do a one arm, one leg sit up. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put left leg down. I'm going to put the weight also in my left hand. And we're going to come down. I'm going to put this foot in a position where I can get a little bit of leverage. Coming down, I want you guys to think about pushing that weight straight up and then controlling the way down. Okay? And the whole time, this leg is staying down. Now, for me, I've worked up to about 20 pounds, but 10 pounds is a good place to start. If you can't do any weight on it, all we're going to do is try to keep that hand straight up into the sky. Awesome. All right, the next movement we're going to do is called a hip thruster. Now, if you don't have a barbell, you can use a big sandbag. You can put a plate at your waist. You can put a dumbbell in your waist. The big part of this movement people really get wrong is they put their elbows on the bench, and they also need to put it against something that's not going to go anywhere, so I recommend putting the bench against the wall and making sure it's nice and snug, because these want to go wild on you, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come down, and we're going to be seated, and we're going to put this right into here. If you need to, use a neck rest pad for your hips if you have rather bony hips, and instead of, I'm going to put my elbows up on here to get myself in body position. Then I'm going to hold the bar. And what we're going to do is one rep looks like this. Come down, drive up, all the way up. Don't give me a half rep. Come down and drive all the way up. Drive through the hip, okay? Now, as you guys are doing this, I want you guys to use enough weight that it's a challenge to drive to the top, and give yourself 1, 2, 3. You guys can go a little slower on the way up. Make sure it's a good, strong drive, though. All right, so we're going to do a plank drag. As you guys can see, we focus a lot on kind of getting a nice, strong, centered core. And using that plank position is great because it's very similar to the position that I want you guys to find when you're running, which is a good upright posture. We're just going to take that and flip it horizontally. And what we're going to do, and where people most mess this up, is that when we come down into plank, what I want you guys to do is think that you're always reaching and pulling underneath you. You're not picking and placing. You're going to pull underneath you. Okay, so we're going to come up here. We're going to grab the weight. We're going to drag it underneath us. Drag it underneath. So things that are important here. I've got a nice wide base. As I get better at this, I can narrow up my base, and I'm not letting those hips twist. This is all about making sure that you can control your hips from twisting and having your core and everything from shoulders all the way down to hips all in alignment as you're doing something powerful.